Just a few minutes in my chair.
This Ensemble?
Our lead trombone player decided to take a break now.
There he is.
Give the trumpet player some more rest.
Thank you. You will.
I've lost control.
One, two, three, four. All right, you guys awake? All right, good. Well, thank you so much for coming out on a pretty crummy weather night to see the Perimeter College Jazz Ensemble. That first tune, of course, written by Sammy Nestico, the great arranger who for many years was associated with the Count Basie Orchestra and many others. And that featured Dick Prang and Lester Pleasant on tenor saxophone. And how about a hand for Terry Vineyard on the drums over here? Yeah. That's not an easy chart to play. And that's our vernacular we call arrangements charts. We're going to continue now with a nice little medium tempo swing tune written by a wonderful, well, you may not know this, but Steve Allen, the original host of The Tonight Show back in the late 1950s, early 1960s, wrote somewhere around 8,500 tunes. Did you know that? That's more than Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Ellington, and pretty much every other composer on the planet put together. Now, we probably have never heard of a lot of them, but this is a really neat tune called Say That Again. And this was arranged by Tom Kubis, who's a really wonderful writer from the Los Angeles area. And he has his own band out there, just writes some very clever stuff. So this is his arrangement of Steve Allen's tune, Say That Again. It's going to feature Buddy Dittert on trumpet, Steve Blair on bass, and also our Doug Boat there, Doug Brown on the baritone saxophone. One, two, three, four. How about that? Buddy Dittert on trumpet, Doug Brown on baritone sax, and Stephen Blair on bass. Okay, we're going to change it up a little bit now and do something kind of Latin groove. This is a tune that was originally written in 1950 for a movie called A Life of Her Own. And Bronislaw Kaper, the composer, who was originally from Poland and apparently was a child prodigy in music and went on to study law. That's what child prodigies in music do, study law, right? So we knew he had a career no matter what, but he ended up in Germany in the early 1930s writing music for film. But as we know, in the late 1930s, stuff got kind of funny in Germany, so before that he decided, to get out of there, and he went to France. Then he ended up coming to the United States in the 1940s, where he started writing music for movies. I think he was under contract with one of the big studios. And this was a piece that came out of that. So he actually won a Golden Globe Award for this piece in that first movie in 1950, but apparently it was kind of a flop. Nobody really went to see it. In 1952, there was a new movie that used the exact same film score, which is kind of unusual. I don't know that I've ever heard of that happening before, but they used the same film score, and this was the main theme, and so that's what you're going to hear. And that this was arranged. Eric Richards, who was a wonderful trombone player who worked in the, I think he was Air Force for a long time, and then has had his own groups and now teaches somewhere, I think in Nebraska, which is where our baritone saxophone player is from. So this is Invitation. One, two, three. Thank you. Okay, how about a hand for Jim Bedrick over there on the guitar? And once again, Terry Vineyard on the drums. So we're going to force you into the holiday spirit, whether you like it or not. And this is a wonderful arrangement of one of the better-known Christmas carols out there. As a matter of fact, this was written in 1857 and was considered to be the first really popular Christmas piece ever written in the United States. And that's We Three Kings of Orient Are. We mentioned Tom Kubis a little while ago, and he did this arrangement. This is a pretty tough, you'll see this is not an easy arrangement to play, but it's a lot of fun, and these guys really play it great. And it's a very fast 3/4, so kind of what we call a jazz waltz, which is a little less common. But we're going to do it. This is going to feature Dick Prang and Lester Pleasant again on tenor sax. And Dick's, I think, going to play a little soprano sax. Lester Pleasant, Dick Prang, and Terry Vineyard once again. They're the three kings right there. Okay, we're going to do something that is really ill-advised on a concert, and that is feature the trombone section. But now these guys are great. They're all wonderful players, and we're going to let them do their thing here. This is a wonderful old tune written in 1930, and really became popular about 15 or so years later. A lot of artists had hits on it. Louis Armstrong, I think Duke Ellington, a lot of people had arrangements of this. So this is a wonderful arrangement of On the Sunny Side of the Street. Bob Devine, Skip Dolt, Nathaniel Addix, Clarence White. Okay, this is probably one of the best known holiday pieces ever written. I think it is White Christmas that may be the most recorded holiday tune of all time, but this is going to be up in the top 5 probably. This was written by Mel Torme, the wonderful jazz crooner, who, if you did not know, was an absolutely amazing drummer. There's a YouTube video you can watch with him playing with a Buddy Rich band. It's just mind-blowing. I had no idea that he was a drummer on this level, but it's really fun to watch. Because we know him as a crooner who, you know, he could scat sing really incredible stuff. But he wrote this tune, and I'm going to play it for you now. The Christmas Song. boy. All right. How about some Duke Ellington? Yeah, I mean, come on. I know some of you guys out there are in my jazz history class, so you better clap for Duke Ellington. So this is actually, for you guys in the class, this is a contrafact or contrafaction of a tune that was written in 1917 called Rose Room. And interesting story about Rose Room. Charlie Christian, the famous jazz guitarist who did not live near long enough, he went to a performance with Benny Goodman's band, and who was it, John? I forget the guy's name, the producer that worked with Benny Goodman's band for all those years. He wanted Charlie Christian to audition for Goodman's band, and Goodman like, I don't want a guitar player. So on the break, the promoter convinced him to go on stage. And so Benny Goodman thought, well, he's going to trick this kid, this, like 19, 20-year-old kid. Well, what could he know? How many tunes could this guy know? So he called Rose Room, thinking that Charlie Christian would not be able to play it. Not only could he play it, he played the crap out of it and ended up playing guitar with the Benny Goodman Orchestra for many years. So this is a contrafact of that tune. So this is In a Mellow Tone by Duke Ellington. His phone is ringing? One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. You survived. You made it to the last number. Oh, come on, guys. You're having better fun than that. I just know it. Yeah. Before we do our last number, I would like to introduce the guys in the band, but first I would like to thank the production crew here at Perimeter College Fine Arts Department, without whom we would not be able to do this. Our sound man up in the booth, Aaron Gottlieb. How about a hand for Aaron? And a guy who wears many hats, and tonight is kind of running around controlling things on the floor, James Hennessy, who's back there somewhere. As a matter of fact, James is responsible for getting all this stuff set up, so we couldn't do this without him. And Norman Richards, who is unfortunately not here tonight, couldn't be with us as our normal house manager, but I would like to thank him anyway, because I forget to thank him every time, and I'm going to thank him even when he's not here. All right, yes, Norman Richards. Okay. Over here on the piano, a guy who's actually a hardware engineer and loves this music so much he practices all the time, as you can probably tell. Mark Tucker on the piano. And one of our new members, a retired ophthalmologist who worked at Emory, right? He worked at Emory Hospital and is a great guitarist and musician, Jim Bedrick on guitar. And an accountant, CPA, something like that. He works with money and is very good at it. And, as you can tell, one of the best bass players in town, in my opinion. And you see him, he's playing both upright bass, the big wooden thing, and also electric bass. So, Steve Blair back there on the bass. On drums, we have a former Georgia State student who was downtown when I taught there, and his experience with me didn't hurt him at all, apparently. That's a joke, y'all. That's a joke. Terry Vineyard over here on the drums. And now, our trumpet section. I don't have enough lies to tell about you guys, but I'll try. Gene Williford is an architect and a very fine trumpet player. He's been in the band the whole time I've been here. One of our new members who used to work in Atlantic City, right? And has played lead trumpet at some of the big hotels in Atlantic City, and we're really happy to have him. John Houghton back there on the trumpet. And of course, I can never remember exactly what you do, but I know it's tech related, right? Yeah. Computer stuff, right. Buddy Dittert on the trumpet. You heard some of the fine solos by Buddy. And sound and lighting engineer who does a lot of that around town, also plays a lot of trumpet in various groups. Keith White back there. And one of my oldest friends who was in the original version of this band in 1975, Mark and I actually played in the Emory Orchestra on a concert together, and he showed up here many years ago playing in this band. I'm like, wow. And he is an anesthesiologist, right? And among other things, and that's Dr. Mark Merlin back there on the trumpet. And now the trombone section. Yes. Why? A wonderful trombone player you just heard, and one of the best dentists in Atlanta, Dr. Skip Dolt here on the trombone. And another one of my dearest, oldest friends who was also in the very first version of this band back in 1975. And Bob and I, we like to say we went to different high schools together. We played a lot in different area bands together back in the mid-'70s. And Bob Devine back there on lead trombone. And you do tech stuff, right? Okay. Computer stuff. Nathaniel Addix on trombone. And down on bass trombone, somebody who works for the Salvation Army. And you've been doing some gigs. What's the name of that group you played with out in Dallas? Spiritual to the Bone, very clever name, and that's Clarence White on the bass trombone. And now, the saxophone section.
Yay!
Yay! I don't know what to say about this guy, but he's a real trooper. You were involved in real estate for a while, and I know you were in the Army band for a while, and not only a brilliant saxophone player, this guy plays great bass. Mr. Dick Prang here on the tenor saxophone, soprano sax. And it drives him crazy when I say it, but this is the anchor of the band right here. He's been here the whole time that I have, and I started in 1998 directing this band. And Bob has been at all but maybe 4 rehearsals in 24 years. And he can read, we like to say he can read fly poop, because I mean, he is that good, he can sight read pretty much anything. Bob Kemp on the alto sax right there. Another wonderful musician and a retired physician who taught at KSU, Kennesaw State, taught anatomy and physiology, runs several of his own groups, and actually several of these guys actually live in Cartersville, Georgia, and they drive down here every Monday night. So
I'm
we
the
must.
parole officer.
Oh, now I know. Okay. Well, I know you drive the bus a lot of times. Dr. Saunders Jones on lead alto sax. And finally retired from the Fulton County, right? Fulton County Public Schools, where you taught band, right? For many years, and has played for many years. Lester Pleasant on the tenor sax. And then at the bottom of the sax section on baritone sax, a gentleman, and I use the term loosely, who basically sold paint for Sherwin-Williams for many years and did very, very well at it. And he built stuff. You ought to see this guy. He does incredible stuff with wood. Doug Brown on the Barry sax over there. And we have another saxophone player who's our newest member and a retired postal worker, and we're so happy to have Roxelle Carter, better known as Rock. Okay, we're going to do this last number for you. This is written in 1923, another oldie but goodie, and this was arranged by a friend of mine who lives in Augusta, Georgia. He taught at Augusta State College, which is now Augusta University, where he taught music theory and composition. He happens to be an incredible tuba player, but he's also a great composer and arranger. And beyond that, he happens to be one of the foremost authorities on fencing, this kind of fencing. And he wrote a textbook, apparently, on fencing that's the most widely used textbook. And his name is Rudy Volkman, and he wrote this arrangement that we're going to do for you of Who's Sorry Now? You'll notice toward the end, we do a little bit of a kind of a New Orleans style thing with the 3 horns. It's kind of fun. So here we go. Would you like to hear one more? Okay. This is what we call a planned encore. We're going to invite Rock back out here. We're going to end up with another one of the best-known holiday tunes you've ever heard. And this is my somewhat, well, twisted is probably a good description. This is an arrangement I did. It's hard to believe it was back in 2000. It's 22 years old. I call it Bingle Gels. Think about it.
Oh my.
We're in trouble.
1, 2, 1. And if any of you guys taking classes want to come ask questions, forget it, we don't talk. No, I'm kidding. If you have questions, the guys would be happy to talk to you. And if you're in my class, I'd love to meet you. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you in the spring. All right? In that, the little pack in the back.
In the back of the